Hi. A few more notes on the short story. The next two stories that we have are a little strange. That's Miriam by Truman Capote and Silent Snow, Secret Snow by Conrad Aiken. These are different because they deal primarily, I think, with mental illness. Now, the mental illness that they seem to deal with um, is schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia doesn't mean that a person suffering from schizophrenia doesn't mean that he or she has two different personalities. This we define these days maybe as bipolarism. But schizophrenia implies a split. It comes from the Greek word schizo, which means split. And the split is not between two different personalities. The split occurs when part of the personality is living and conscious of normal life, but there's another part to this person's consciousness which goes off into another zone that has nothing to do with reality. We might see this functioning in some way in both of these stories. I'd like you to be aware of exactly what that term schizophrenia means and how it applies in this particular case. All right, these two stories are a little strange, but they do typify the nature of the short story, which often deals with things that are strange, weird, eerie, or gothic, in the case of Edgar Allan Poe, who also encompasses those other words as well, those other descriptive adjectives as well. What I want you to notice in these stories is how they are, at the same time, similar but also rather different. And one thing I'm going to ask you is, which story do you think is scarier, and why? Now, I have some notes on the email that I sent to everybody to somehow make the assignment a little clearer, maybe fuller, so that you can submit, a pretty good analysis or a pretty good discussion of your experience with these two stories. I want you to continue to consider that idea of condition of being as it occurs to the two main characters in those stories, but also to consider the setting, and especially what we might call the effects in the setting, the repetitive effects, the details that are of substantial or realistic nature. And see how they contribute to the meaning or the effect that the story has on the reader. So I'm asking you, why are these set in winter? Why do they involve children? And some other questions as well that you're going to find in the email that you receive. So this is going to be your last assignment, and once you've fulfilled that, everybody's going to be happy, especially if you do a good job. And I will read them, all these assignments, and send you grades almost immediately. So these will be due next Wednesday. Don't forget that. And I'll probably be on one more time on one of these note sessions. But meanwhile, good luck with that. We've had a very good semester. I thought this was an excellent class. Considering the difficulty we've had with no meetings and only these little interviews that we have on YouTube, and some of the notes I've given you through your emails. So continue to do what you have been doing. Some of you could expand a little bit, but that's something that you are going to have to deal with. And also notice, remember we were talking about Edgar Allan Poe, who dropped out of West Point, dropped out of the University of Virginia, but somehow was a genius, somehow taught himself, really, all the necessaries for becoming a great writer. You've been in a situation of self-education. How have you liked it? How did you find it? It's an interesting experience, and by and large, your education is something that you teach yourself. Teacher kind of guides you, but you are in charge of it. And being in charge of it, you might find it sometimes more difficult to pursue, but sometimes deeper and more rewarding. So, okay, good luck with that. I look forward to reading your final responses, and I'll speak to you again next week. Okay, bye-bye.